On the morning of February 28, 2026, 30 hypersonic missiles pierced the cloud cover over Tehran. Traveling at hypersonic speeds, they converged on a single set of coordinates inside the city. Their target was the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei. For 36 years, he had been shielded by 3 concentric rings of elite guards and a command bunker so deep that the elevator ride alone took 5 minutes. But the missiles were only the final step. Reaching the target required a 10-year intelligence web built from hacked traffic cameras, spies sifting through compound garbage, and an artificial intelligence system processing the chaos. This is the step-by-step breakdown of how a coordinated intelligence apparatus breached an impenetrable fortress from the outside in. The strategy changed in 2018 when Mossad agents broke into a warehouse in Tehran. They cut through iron safes with blowtorches and extracted half a ton of classified documents, files that exposed a network of secret underground nuclear locations, previously invisible to satellites. This illustration of an Iranian nuclear weapon design, presented by Benjamin Netanyahu, demonstrates why the previous strategy was failing. The nuclear program was systemic. Bombing individual facilities was futile because the leadership would simply rebuild them in new locations. Israel pivoted. They stopped playing whack-a-mole with concrete buildings and shifted their focus toward eliminating the supreme leader himself. Moving from infrastructure to a head of state carried high stakes. A failed attempt would leave the target alive, with the justification to launch a full-scale regional war. To understand the difficulty of the task, we have to map the location. The Pasteur Street compound in Tehran spans 30 acres and houses 50 government offices. It is shielded by 3 rings of Valley EAMR security guards who report exclusively to Khamenei. Beneath the surface, the protection is even more significant. Khamenei's primary bunker is connected to a 5-kilometer underground tunnel network that terminates at 8 hidden exit gates scattered throughout civilian infrastructure, including hospitals and schools. Above ground, the area was saturated with electronic countermeasures. Frequency detectors, mobile phone jammers, and anti-rocket nets blanketed the entire 30-acre complex. A blind strike would likely miss, sending Khamenei into the tunnel network permanently. To authorize the attack, the planners needed real-time data on his exact coordinates. The digital breach began with the city's infrastructure. Israeli cyber units exploited an unpatched remote execution bug in Chinese-made Tandy and Hikvision street cameras, allowing them to watch the compound's perimeter through Iran's own surveillance network. From orbit, U.S. and Israeli satellites provided the macro view. These lenses were capable of tracking specific vehicle license plates and analyzing the shadows of communication antennas to determine their height and orientation. Iran's security teams attempted to counter this. High-level visitors were blindfolded before entering the compound, and internal communications were moved to fiber optic cables to prevent satellites from intercepting radio signals. As the compound became physically and electronically shielded, the attackers were forced to penetrate the inner circle to maintain their intelligence flow. Ground-level espionage filled the gaps. Operatives infiltrated maintenance staff and analyzed compound waste, while spyware was used to infect the phones of the drivers, cooks, and guards closest to the supreme leader. To make sense of millions of fragmented data points, the military utilized AI software to establish Khamenei's pattern of life. The AI isolated specific variables, cross-referencing driver shift changes, convoy formations, and even analyzing Khamenei's walking posture. This differentiated the target from his body doubles. The software converted raw surveillance into a model of habits, identifying the specific, fleeting window required to strike. On the morning of February 28, 2026, intelligence confirmed that Khamenei was holding a meeting with 40 top officials above ground, rather than in the bunker. Moments before the strike, Iran's air defenses collapsed. Dormant malware, embedded in the supply chain of the S-300 batteries years earlier, activated. Radar screens went blank, and targeting computers lost contact with the command center. Simultaneously, U.S. aircraft flooded the airspace with electromagnetic static, while pre-smuggled drones physically destroyed the blinded radar batteries. This synchronized wave of cyber, electronic, and kinetic attacks stripped away the compound's defenses, leaving the target area exposed. At 9:40 a.m., 30 Blue Sparrow missiles struck the exact coordinates of the meeting. Khamenei and his leadership team were eliminated. 12 minutes later, the Iranian public received notifications on a popular religious app. The messages demanded the army's surrender, demonstrating that the attackers had accessed the locations and devices of millions of citizens. Despite the destruction, questions remained. General Ismail Kawani survived by leaving the meeting just before the missiles hit. Even more unusual was the decision to move the meeting out of the bunker at the absolute last moment. A decade of orbital surveillance and AI modeling provided the coordinates, but the final success of the operation suggests that the attackers utilized the oldest weapon in warfare: human betrayal.